party that wants to cut early learning and childcare, which supports so many families. They're opposed to dental care. They're opposed to pharmacare, Mr. Speaker.
You're opposed to pharmacare?
Yeah.
What are you kidding, Freeland? Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everyone. I'm Cypher.
And I'm Fox. Question period is back in session after 2 back-to-back constituency weeks, and the Conservatives are not holding back.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
While common sense Conservatives are fighting to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime, this Prime Minister is promising a cruel April Fool's Day joke, a 23% carbon tax hike on food, gas, and groceries. This at a time when the Prime Minister has forced 50 families at CFB in Gagetown, military families, to go to food banks. 2 million Canadians every month going to those same food banks. 8,000 as part of a Facebook group where they share tips on eating out of dumpsters. Will the Prime Minister gain some compassion and some common sense and spike the hike?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a new catchphrase.
We do, although some of our commenters have pointed it out, I kind of agree with them. I don't know if I like it, because spike usually means to, like...
to nail it.
Yeah, well, or it could mean to raise. So, like, spike the hike. Like, I don't know. It's not my favorite. Axe the tax is better.
Yeah, and I guess they had to choose something, right? So, but you know, the message is clear. They want to stop the carbon tax increase on April 1st. It doesn't have a chance of, actually happening, but they are going to be ratcheting up a lot of public pressure on Justin Trudeau. I believe this weekend coming up, they're going to be doing door knocking to raise awareness and get people's opinion on the April 1st carbon tax increase, just to stick it to Trudeau as much as they can. So, this is interesting. Like, pay attention to the next month, everybody, because this is going to be probably the most active that you will ever see the Conservatives. Why? Because they are wanting to put as much pressure on both Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau to call an election as possible.
Mr. Speaker, we will take no lessons from the Conservatives when it comes to supporting the least vulnerable in our country. This is the party that wants to cut the Canada Child Benefit. This is the party that wants to cut support to our seniors. This is the party that wants to cut early learning and childcare, which supports so many families. They're opposed to dental care. They're opposed to pharmacare, Mr. Speaker.
You're opposed to pharmacare.
Yeah.
What are you kidding, Freeland? Like, seriously.
You guys are just giving the illusion of going along with the NDP's pharmacare plan so that you hope they'll prop you up and not force an election this spring.
Yeah, if you really wanted a pharmacare bill, you would have written a pharmacare bill. What you wrote was a delay bill, a hey, we'll think about it bill. And as for all of the things that you said the Conservatives are going to cut, they actually have only said they're going to cut one thing: taxes. And as for your, early learning, $1 a day daycare or whatever the heck you want to call it, you are making so many businesses go under because all of this was just rolled out as a disaster. So you're causing all these daycares to go out of business. What does that do? That then reduces the amount of slots there are for parents to actually have their kids enroll into daycare. So you're making it even harder for parents and their kids to actually figure out childcare arrangements. And never mind the rest of which I'm not even going to address it because it's just so ludicrous.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Fear and falsehoods to distract from the fact that after 8 years of this Prime Minister, he's not worth the cost, and neither is his carbon tax, which will cost the average Ontario family this coming year $1,674. $1,674 for a middle-class family that's lined up at a food bank, not able to feed themselves or pay their heating bill. Will the Prime Minister give his head a shake, cancel his cruel April Fool's Day joke, and spike the hike?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, no one here is surprised to hear the Conservative leader talk about fear and falsehoods because that is what he traffics in every single day. It's his area of personal expertise. Now, what he is proposing is, at least he is consistent. He wants to cut the support that Canadians get, and he wants to cut the support Canadian families are getting from the price on pollution. That's $1,800 Alberta families won't get. That's $1,120 Ontario families won't get. Cut. All they know how to do.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
She is so terrible at speaking.
She is.
Mind you, look her role model is so Justin Trudeau. But again, you're trying to say what they're going to cut before they're even in office, but at least you're assuming they're going to be in office because you're saying what they're going to cut. So,
well, I think it's a given that the Conservatives are going to cut the carbon tax, which means there will be no carbon tax rebates because the Conservative government will not be taking the carbon tax from you to begin with. And this is going to help on all levels of the supply chain for literally everything you buy. Everything in this country. It comes into this country on a boat, a truck, a train, or a plane. Those all need fuel. And then it has to be shipped to the store. And then you have to go buy it and bring it home.
And I also love that she says that Pierre Poilievre traffics in misinformation. As the saying goes, Freeland, facts don't care about your feelings. And all of the facts that come out of Pierre's mouth, a lot of them actually come from your government. You just don't want to talk about them, like the Parliamentary Budget Officer's report. And as for the $1,800 that he's going to take out of the hands of Albertans, no, he's going to put it back in their hands and not take it out of their hands in the first place. Again, he's not going to be taking $50 out of people's pockets and giving them back $40 and saying, look, I'm giving you money. That is called a bait and switch, which, hey, your friends at GC Strategies know all too well.
So she just brags that Alberta families will get $1,800, but according to the Parliamentary Budget Officer, the carbon tax will cost Alberta families $2,943.
Amazing.
So the Prime Minister takes away $2,943 and gives back $1,800. Mr. Speaker, it's almost like he's a bank robber who thinks that he's virtuous because he tips the teller on the way out the door. Why won't he spike the hike?
The Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Okay,
that's a great analogy. That was a great analogy.
It really was. Because it's so fitting. It is just so fitting. Yeah, you rob the bank of millions of dollars and you're like, here's $1,000 on my way out the door. Have fun with that.
Yeah, here's a little something for your trouble.
But again, this is the facts that I was just telling you that Pierre is trading in using Freeland's terms, and it's from her own government. Like, what do you want?
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative leader should know a lot about living off the public purse. That's all he has done his entire life. Now, when it comes to the price on pollution, this is entirely revenue neutral. The government does not keep a penny. It returns more money to 8 out of 10 Canadian families. That's a good deal for Canadians, Mr. Speaker.
So, Freeland, if this program is revenue neutral, as you claim, then why is the Canadian Taxpayers Federation alleging that it costs $200 million to administrate?
Yeah, that's not revenue neutral. It's not. It really isn't. And that is a lot of public servants that you're actually paying to administrate this thing. Now, here's an idea. How about that, at least that $200 million you don't collect in the first place? You know what that would mean? That's $200 million back in the hands of Canadians. What a concept.
Well, and I think the part that disgusts me the most is that the Liberals have been lying to Canadians and continue to lie to Canadians in the face of hard evidence, like this report from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. that says this is not a revenue neutral program. You will not get more money back than you put in.
The honourable member from Regina Capel.
After 8 years, this Prime Minister is not worth the cost. And thanks to his policies, millions of Canadians are visiting a food bank for the first time in their lives. And as if prices weren't high enough already, this Prime Minister is planning a 23% hike on the carbon tax in a cruel April Fool's Day joke. But the tax revolt is happening. 70% of Canadians and 70% of premiers are opposed and fighting back. Like in Saskatchewan, where the budget watchdog has determined that Saskatchewan families will pay an extra $2,620 in the carbon tax. So simple question, where are Saskatchewan families supposed to come up with $2,600 to pay his tax?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I have a lot of respect for the former Conservative leader, and he is a proud MP from the province of Saskatchewan, a province that is proud of its Ukrainian Canadian population. Now, last week, the current Conservative leader said in a radio interview, he implied strongly he would cut all economic aid for Ukraine. This is a chance for the MP from Saskatchewan to say, does he support that shameful position? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Question period, not answer period.
Of course. And, you know, I think it's kind of gross the way she rubs it in that Andrew Scheer was the former leader. I mean, he's a fantastic MP, he was a fantastic speaker, and he's a fantastic House leader.
Yeah, and he is like that type of person in government who has had those different roles. That is a fantastic person to have as one of your right-hand guys. Like, especially someone who is a former leader, who's been there, who knows what it's like, but who's also been Speaker of the House, knows what it means to be impartial. Unlike you, Freeland, you haven't been a leader, you haven't been a speaker. All you've been is a history student playing at finance.
And don't forget, she's also been trustee on the WEF.
Oh, let's not forget that either, yes.
The honourable member from Regina Capel.
They desperately don't want to answer for the carbon tax pain they're causing Canadians. And no one is fooled by the ridiculous rebate ruse this government is selling. That's because Canadians know that the carbon tax rebate was specifically designed to exclude all the secondary costs that go up when the producer, the shipper, and the retailer all have to pay their higher share of carbon taxes. And the average income earners, the middle income earners across Canada, are worse off even after the rebate. $900 worse off in Alberta, $500 worse off in Saskatchewan, $600 worse off in Ontario. Why doesn't the Prime Minister show some compassion and spike the hike?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad to hear the member opposite talk about the rebate, because that is what it is. This is returning money to Canadians. 8 out of 10 families are better off. It is revenue neutral for the government. But I noticed that this Saskatchewan MP, a member of Parliament many of us on this side of the House really respect, someone who is proud to represent the people of Saskatchewan. I'd like to hear him say, does he support his leader's shameful position on Ukraine? Yes or no? The people of Saskatchewan deserve to know.
The honourable member from Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of this NDP Liberal Prime Minister, food bank usage in Toronto is up 500%. Now they want to hike the carbon tax on gas, on groceries, on home heating by 23%, on their way to quadrupling the tax over the next 6 years. What a cruel April Fool's joke. According to the Parliamentary Budget Officer, the average Ontario family will pay $1,674 of carbon tax. Where does this Prime Minister think they're going to get that kind of money?
So we're not going to show you the answer to that because nobody wants to hear Chrystia Freeland anymore. But it's interesting, folks, because there is going to be a serious amount of pressure that is levied against the Liberals and the NDP over the next 60 days. Now, even though the budget is presented to the House on April 16th, that is not when the vote is. So the vote may actually be after April 22nd. So the pressure is on Jagmeet to make a call. And I think it's interesting that he is levying this motion about Palestine and Gaza and wanting Canada to recognize Palestine as a state, because it's going to split the Liberal Party in two on this issue. And the last thing that the Liberals need right now is to be divided. Not only that, we learned something very, very interesting in our interview today. And here's a little spoiler. So the Conservatives are going to be asking the Ontario Provincial Police to restart the SNC Lavalin investigation from scratch. What is the benefit of that? Well, there's no federal intervention and influence on the provincial police.
Well, and not only that, it could force an election.
It sure could, because if Justin Trudeau realizes that there is a literally independent body of law enforcement that is going to be digging into this and may come to the same conclusion as Larry Brock and the Conservatives, that on the face of it, there is justification to lay charges of obstruction of justice, that might be Trudeau's ticket to either prorogue Parliament or call an early election. Either way, the next 60 days are going to be very interesting, folks.